Hey guys, welcome to the review of the study guide for quiz 1.2b. This time, as the study guide, I gave you quiz B, which the B quiz was a little bit harder last time, so hopefully it'll work the opposite this time. So for question number 1, a basketball official gets used to counting seconds as a team brings the ball inbounds from under the opponent's basket. If the team fails to get the ball across half court in less than 10 seconds, then a violation occurs and the ball is given to the other team. Question A, a rookie official consistently, there's the key word right there, consistently makes the mistake of starting his count before the ball actually touches a player on the court. Following several 10-second violations, the coach points this mistake out to the official. Is the coach concerned with the validity, the bias, or the reliability of the official's measurement? So the reason I highlighted the word consistently is because that means it's happening every single time. And when it's happening every single time, that's going to give you bias. And if you remember from the lectures, I think what I was talking about with bias was if you get on the scale every day and it's consistently 3 pounds overweight, then your scale is biased 3 pounds. It's still reliable. You can reliably know that you're going to be 3 pounds overweight on your scale, but it is biased. The validity is still correct because it is still correct to measure your weight using a scale, even though there is bias. That's how you measure how much you weigh in the morning or whenever you measure yourself. So right here, the word explain, I did take off points last time if you didn't explain, so please make sure you do it again this time. Here is my explanation. Okay, the coach is concerned with the bias of the official measurements because the official is consistently making the same mistake each time. That's all you need for that. Question B, an experienced official learns to improve on his count by watching a clock on the gym wall count down from 35 seconds. If the clock shows 25 seconds before the team gets the ball across half court, the official calls a violation. Unknown to the official, the clock on the wall is old and unpredictable. Sometimes the clock runs a little fast, sometimes a little slow, and sometimes it's just right. Will the official's measurements suffer from lack of validity, bias, or lack of reliability? So let's check off each of these issues. Validity, right? So what we're talking about that I was just saying was, is it a valid way to measure time by using a clock? And I would say, yeah, it's pretty valid to use a clock to measure time. In fact, well, that's not the only way to measure time, but that's the way we normally do it. The second one we're looking at is bias. And as we said before in the question we were just talking about, bias is something that is consistently happening the same way each time. And in this case, sometimes the clock runs a little fast, sometimes the clock runs a little slow, and sometimes it's just right, like Goldilocks. So it is not consistently the same mistake each time. That leaves reliability, and I think that makes sense because it is not reliable. You can use the word in English. It's not reliable to use that clock. And my explanation, I think, is below. Right? This time, the official's measurements will lack reliability since it is not the same mistake each time. The instrument used in this case is unreliable. Right? Question 2, we're getting into a little bit more of the intangible. How do you measure something strange? Name 3 numerical variables you would try to measure a high school student's popularity. So you have to have an actual number. I'm sure you guys came up with much better ideas than I do. There's not going to be one that is perfect, but the ones that I came up with were the number of friends somebody has on Facebook, the number of friends someone has at school, and the number of people that know who that student is at the school. The instruments that I said I could use to measure each of those with were obviously Facebook to measure the amount of Facebook friends that somebody has. I think somebody else used internet. I would accept that. a survey of that particular student who is popular, asking them how popular they are, or asking them how many friends they have at school, which could get a little tricky because, as you know, I think some people pretend to be people's friends, but they're not actually people's friends. But you could also say that if you want to pretend to be somebody's friend, it's because they are popular. And the third one, to measure the number of people that know who that student is, a survey of the students at school. Okay, so those are the three instruments that I chose to use for that one. And the last question here, domestic automakers led foreign manufacturers in the number of vehicles recalled in the United States because of safety problems in the first half of 1983 from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. This sentence appeared in the local newspaper. The article went on to state that domestic companies recalled 2,047,000 cars and trucks, while foreign manufacturers only recalled 903,100. In fact, imports suffered more serious safety recalls. Explain the mistake that this article made. And this was, I want to say, 1.2b from lecture 1.2b, when we were talking about the differences between rates and counts. So even though this number here, where we're talking about how many cars and trucks were recalled from domestic companies, is a lot larger, in fact over twice as big as this number here, the amount from foreign manufacturers, the fact that we don't have the total cars that both of these two companies actually made, or these two types of companies actually made, means that this isn't really a good number, because maybe the domestic companies made enough cars that the rate was actually less. So I say here that the mistake this article made was that it used counts instead of rates. Although more domestic cars and imported cars were recalled, there might have been more domestic cars that made the rate of domestic recalls less. Okay, and you can also go back to, remember when I was talking about the number of tickets that red cars get is more, but that there's actually more red cars, so the rate, in fact, might be less. And I would go back, if you didn't really understand this, and read 1.2b and rewatch the lecture and make sure that you understand rates versus counts. So please be prepared to take this quiz the next time I see you and have watched this already. And I look forward to seeing you guys then.